Before we get going into the video, my name is Brando for the new viewers. I'm the founder of Brandlux Media. We are an e-commerce growth agency. We've been able and so fortunate to work with 100 plus partners. And so the reason I started this channel is to document every framework that I know is proven to work and that actually work so that you can get some value from it and, hopefully make your business a success. With no further ado, I hope you enjoy this video. When I speak to 6 and 7 figure brand owners, they just feel like the only way to do it is for them to decrease the CPA as they scale.
If you're currently at 7 figures and you want to scale to 8 figures, of course, you need to increase your new customer acquisition. In terms of increasing LTV then, of course, if you have multiple products, you can upsell and cross-sell them. Another big one is subscription offers. And we've seen firsthand with our clients that if you have a subscription offer, your revenue has this compounding effect because you're acquiring not just a customer, you're acquiring a subscriber. That's going to add compounding revenue to your business. And you're likely going to be able to spend more than your competitors.
6-7 figure ecom brands don't really understand this concept of
All right, guys, in this video, we're going to talk about how to scale an e-commerce brand from 7 figures to 8 figures in 2025. We're going to be going through the foundational stuff. We're going to be talking about how to maintain your CPA while still scaling. And yeah, we're going to go into a lot of different areas.
Yeah, many topics. And I think there isn't a better person than to speak with this guy over here, Jordan, because we both share pretty much the same business. We've been working with 6, 7, 8, sometimes even 9-figure clients here and there. And so I think it's a good opportunity to get along together and speak about how to actually go from 7 to 8 figures, because at least from my experience, I've seen those 4, 5, 6 things that the 8-figure businesses have, and the 7-figure businesses are just lacking or don't have at all. So yeah, let's do it.
No, I think it's going to be a great conversation. There's a lot of, we face a lot of the similar challenges with the brands that we work with, and it's all about being able to understand what separates 7 figures and 8-figure brands.
Yeah.
So yeah, where do you want to start today?
Let's talk about one of the most important things, which I think is product market fit, and the idea that not every product can scale to a certain number on the front end. Like you can introduce multiple products to your brand and they could do maybe well as an upsell, as a downsell, but not every product or every suite of products that you launch are going to be perfect for scaling and launching to the ice cold market out there. So I think one of the most important principles that people really forget is like introducing a product to the market that is a fit to that specific market that you're going after. Many times they just forget about it and they just focus on what they would want to introduce, and they forget to listen or to do research on what people actually want, whether it's a feature, an advantage compared to the previous version of the product, whatever it is, comparing it to the competition, whatever it is, there needs to be a market fit that is very clear, that is scalable, and that people actually desire and there's a demand for.
100%. And if you're running a 7-figure brand, you're operating a 7-figure brand, you likely already have that one hero product that's probably got you there, right? I think when it comes to getting to the next level and being able to do that more consistently, having more products, introducing more, appealing to more areas of the market really, and understanding what your TAM is, your total addressable market, for the specific products that you're running.
That's a very, very big one. We have one client that has he's in I cannot tell you exactly what the brand name is, but they're, just to give you an understanding of what they're doing, they're basically entering a very a niche of a niche, like a big industry, and then like a niche of a sub niche. But the market cap is still $1 billion, and there it's just them and maybe 2 or 3 other people promoting. So that's an example of a low competitive market that has a perfect product market fit, that has a big enough market cap to actually get you to 8 figures in the first place. So yeah, I agree with your point.
Really, really important. Okay.
I guess we can speak about the foundational things, like the easy, to go from 7 figures to 8 figures, you need product market fit. We understand that. But what are the first things that we can start doing, a business can start doing to get there in an easier way? Or what are the first steps that we should take? What do you think is the first step that you should take from a product perspective, maybe offers? What are the things that you would do based on your experience?
Yeah, just like the product market fit, the offer is also a huge part of it, right? Likely if you're already operating at 7 figures, maybe if you're low 7 figures, not so much. If you're high 7 figures, maybe more so. But you found an offer and a structure that works for you, whether it's you're bundling products together, whether you're doing like a one-time and a subscription offering. I think having that there and something that is consistently working, that especially on like front-end customer acquisition, if you can have a sustainable, consistent way of acquiring customers, be it through Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever, but something that's already working and that you can double down on, because we're going to talk about other areas that you can optimize to maintain CPA as you scale further.
I think a big one is understanding that to get to 7 figures, you can do it with 1-2 products, as you said before, but it's mostly about distributing your risk. Because, and you can do this in multiple ways. You can do this by selling the same product, but in different markets or in different, with different offer propositions. So you can, just like you scale your creatives, right? Horizontally, you can scale your offers horizontally. So you can sell the same exact product, but with 5 different offers to a specific market. So that's one way of distributing your risk. Another good way of distributing your risk is just by introducing new products, which is what we discussed about before, right? Imagine having, I'll give you 2 scenarios, right? And you let me know what you would choose. Business 1 is a business that has 2 products. Product number 1 is generating 95% of the revenue, and then 5% of revenue is coming from maybe other products, but that are not being pushed on the front end. And business number 2, which is typically bigger, has like 10 products, and the revenue and the cash flow is being distributed across these 10 products. This of course, option 2 would be better. And I think it has a lot more of a higher enterprise value. When investors and private equity firms look to buying businesses, they look for distribution, not a risky business that is reliant on just like one product, right?
I think a big thing you touched on as well is also supply chain. Because if you have one product and all of a sudden you run out of stock, or there's an issue with the manufacturer, the supplier, then your business is pretty much gone, right? So when we look at brands and we look at the scaling potential of brands, we're also looking at their supply chain, their inventory. Like, how quickly can we scale up our supply chain, right? Because if we triple the ad spend, but the logistics aren't there to support, then that's going to cause a lot of issues, right? So I think that's another one, and that's a completely different topic, right? Going into all that stuff, and it's something important to consider.
But I think the foundational thing to go from 7 to 8 figures is, like I always say this in many of my YouTube videos, the brands that win are the brands that are able to spend more for a customer and still be insanely profitable, right? These brands like Gymshark, the big dogs out there, are able to spend way more than their competition and still be insanely profitable, not only just because they have more products to sell to, but just because they've created this brand over time. And it takes time. It doesn't take a couple of years to do this, right? And so that's increasing LTV. So what can we do? What can we talk about to the audience about what are some steps that we can take to increase this LTV? Like what can somebody, like, what are the actionable steps that you can do to start increasing the LTV, I guess?
I think before we talk about the specifics, it's important to first know your numbers, and LTV is not really a useful metric unless you add a time frame to it. So common ones are 30-day LTV, 60-day LTV, 90-day LTV, even 365-day LTV. The reason why is because LTV doesn't really mean anything until you realize it, right? It could be an LTV 2 years in advance, but you have to wait 2 years for that cash to be realized. So having different metrics, different timeframes, and also benchmarks. I've heard from Taylor Holiday over at Common Thread Collective, their benchmarks are like 30-day LTV needs to be 30% higher than the AOV on the first order, and a 365-day LTV needs to be 100% higher than first order AOV. That's like the gold standard, right? So if you can be around there, you're in pretty good standing.
I think it's a lot also about understanding, and this is where you need to start hiring a CFO. If you're doing multiple 7 figures and you don't have a CFO, somebody that is in charge of your financial statements, of your financial situation of the company, you probably don't even know how your cash balance, your cash in, cash out. Like, these are really, really important things. When it comes to growing an e-commerce business, based on my experience, there's a lot of moving parts. There's team, there's payroll, there's cost, there's agencies. There's a lot of different things. So I think every business operates in a different way. I'll give you an example. Businesses that have loans or have a lot of cash because they have, they for some reason, because of loan or equity, they have a lot of cash in bank. Then those types of businesses are typically able to be a little more patient. And instead of maybe doing a 30 or 60 LTV calculation to calculate their acquisition costs that they can afford on the front end, they can maybe wait 6 months or some even 12 months. So it's really dependent on your individual kind of like cash flow and how your business is operating.
Of course, 100% agree. So know your numbers. You can use a Shopify app like Lifetimely, which can really help you, pull these numbers. And get someone in finance, CFO. It could even be a fractional CFO. Probably don't need someone full time if you're still in the 7-figure range. In terms of increasing LTV, then multiple options. Of course, you have a customer that comes in to your ecosystem by buying one of the products on the front end. Of course, if you have multiple products, you can upsell them, cross-sell them, multiple ways on the back end, right? Email flows, even like things like direct mail. Throughout the purchase process, you could introduce things in the checkout, all that stuff, but that's more of an AOV thing. And then, of course, another big one is subscription offers. And we've seen firsthand with our clients that if you have a subscription offer, your revenue has this compounding effect because you're acquiring not just a customer, you're acquiring a subscriber. And whether you have a monthly thing, whether you have something that renews every 3 months, that's going to add compounding revenue to your business. And you're likely going to be able to spend more than your competitors to acquire that customer. And as you said, win out in the long term because of that.
Yeah, and exactly. And then it's a matter of understanding, okay, how much is this, subscription lasting? And typically, like, the only caveat with subscription is that if the product doesn't work and if people don't want it, it's not going to work because your acquisition costs are going to be significantly higher. We have some clients that are selling subscription or have sold subscription, and we were barely breaking even on the front end just because we were spending a lot, and that was the plan. But it was sustainable because they knew that they stick for I was thinking 9 or 10 months. And so it was a strategic play. And sometimes I see that ecom, 7-figure ecom, 6-7-figure ecom brands don't really understand this concept of you don't need a 50 ROAS on the front end. You need a 5 ROAS. You need to calculate and reverse engineer what your ROAS and front end ROAS should be based on your economics of the business, based on your LTV, and based on operationally how your business works.
Yeah, and to add to that point as well, specifically separate out new customer ROAS, new customer acquisition cost from your blended, because that's going to tell you how fast your new customer acquisition is growing in relation to your returning customers, right?
Yeah, I think we discussed when it comes to LTV, you discussed more about, I'd like to dive deeper into what people can do on the front end to immediately increase LTV, because there's a couple ways to do it. You can work on the back end, and that's a more long-term play because you build flows and you have to wait for people to receive the flows, for people to try the product. So that's a more long-term approach, which 1000% works, but it's something you need to be patient for, right? What are the things that we can do immediately to start increasing that LTV? And by the way, you can increase LTV by increasing the first time purchase. So the first thing that I really recommend, if you haven't done it before, is testing bundles and selling full-on solutions. So there's a difference between selling a product and that's maybe solves a part of a problem, and compared to maybe a full-on solution that has a bundle or different products together, maybe with additional value like digital or info products to increase perceived value. And so what this allows you to do is very simple. You can charge more. You typically have better margin. You can structure an offer where the total value is the value stack, the value ladder, whatever it's called. You have a $200 value and you sell it for $130. So you're not discounting, but you're just giving away the value for free. So that's it. I love this structure also because it doesn't devalue your brand by saying 50% off and you lose, and plus you lose margin, which doesn't make any sense. So you're just adding, instead of decreasing the price, you're adding value and you're keeping margin. And it's also, I think, more presentable and higher perceived from a customer standpoint. Yeah,
I think this is a great point. Increasing perceived value, bundles, give an example of something that works really well, in the cleaning product space, selling a starter kit, right, where you have a bathroom cleaning product and a kitchen cleaning product, and you sell it all together. if it makes sense for customers to buy things together and if things are very complementary, by all means test it. And it doesn't just have to be for consumable products. You can get creative with it for things that maybe aren't consumable, right? If I'm selling a microphone, I'm also going to sell the arm, right? And I might sell like a lapel mic to go with it, and something else, right? Like it's like a creator podcast kit, whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can be very, very creative. And then the next thing that you can do to immediately increase that LTV on the front end, or I guess allow people to spend more, is just adding pre-purchase and post-purchase upsells. I cannot explain how important this is and how much people leave money on the table when they don't do it. I've seen some scenarios where revenue is increased by maybe 5%, but other scenarios where it was 15%, just because, in my personal experience, just because the secret is structuring those offers so that it's very complementary to what they just purchased. It has to complement, because then the offer doesn't make sense. You can't sell a phone and then a table. Right? It has to make sense. There needs to be some reasoning behind it.
And a no-brainer as well, like that post-purchase offer. Like if you there's something so complimentary and the no-brainer offer, like a one-time thing, and it's a relatively low price point compared to what they purchased, you're going to get a high take rate on that.
Yeah, 100%. We have a client right now that is in a very really interesting industry, kind of like a spiritual industry, and their take rate on the first upsell is 25%.
Wow.
25%. So 1 in 3, sometimes 1 in 3, 1 in 3, 1 in 4 people that buy the product buy the first upsell.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So these are not the numbers that you can expect every time, but if you're doing it right, you should expect around, I would say, at least 10, 15 to 20% conversion rate on that offer. So if you have those numbers, it means that you have a decent take rate.
This is like pre-purchase.
I would say post-purchase.
Post-purchase. Okay.
Yeah, post-purchase.
I mean, we've seen it can be more like between 5 and 10. It depends on the product, depends on the industry. Maybe more so for like consumables, maybe on the lower side, but it also depends on the offer, right? There's so many variables.
There's so many variables. I've seen that with health, beauty products, people go for crazy for full-on solutions. So if I'll give you an example, and you can do this in both ways, but if you sell the bundle, you can have X amount of upsells later. But if you maybe sell the individual product, then that having strategic upsells and cross-sells after is a perfect strategy to have them still buy the bundle, even if they chose the option one without the bundle, right? And so it depends on industry, I would say.
The last thing I would mention as well is the shipping protection, right? Like a very easy win, right?
So we actually have a crazy client that is doing that. So it's not a scam, it's reality. Like you can actually, people think that it's not true, but of course some people do it unethically. But the way that we do it is that we have basically a secured or a refund policy, or where the shipment is secured for orders. I think it was not over $300, and that's typically the AOV of the client is below $300, and they have a take rate of 95%. So I think it's shipping protection is $4 or $5 or something like that. And then of course, if the product gets lost or damaged or whatever, we of course will cover for it. That's the whole point of shipping protection. But it never happens because fulfillment is on point, and people just want that extra level of security. And if they invest if they buy a $50 or $100 product, adding an extra $4 or $5 isn't going to break the bank. It's just going to allow them to be a bit more secure. And so that's one. The second one is a free gift, which we did not expect that would ever work, which is between $5 and $10. And that is maybe something that you can add on as something cute, an extra bracelet or a cap or a shirt for the brand, or something that is doesn't cost you much, has high margin, but the perceived value is there, and it's a cute gift.
Really, really interesting.
So
maybe let's switch gears a little bit and talk about front-end customer acquisition, because you're currently at 7 figures and you want to scale to 8 figures. Of course, you need to increase your new customer acquisition. Paid advertising is getting harder and harder to do. Costs are rising. We're not really talking about how to decrease CPA here. We're talking about how can you maintain your CPA target while scaling your ad spend, which is hard to do, right? Not a lot of brands can do that, especially when you're talking about getting into the 8-figure range. So I guess let's talk about paid advertising. Most brands watching this, you're probably running some paid advertising. how can we, like, what are the main levers and things that we can introduce to make sure that we maintain CPA, even if we were to 1.5x, 2x ad spend?
Yeah. Before we go through this, I cannot stress this enough. When I speak to 6 and 7-figure brand owners, they just feel like the only way to do it is for them to decrease the CPA as they scale. And that is not sustainable, because they don't envision, when you know that you need to do something, but you visually or like mentally don't see how you can get there.
Yeah.
That's basically their bottleneck. And so that would be the LTV bottleneck. They cannot see how they could go from like $100 LTV to like a $200 LTV. And it's just a limiting belief. So that should be your focus, to go from 7 to 8 figures, because all of our clients that are getting 8 figures have a very strong LTV. And so that's the first thing that I wanted to mention. What are the first things you can do? Well, number one that I think that I can say is just tracking your creative performance, not just on your ad account, but with systematic sheets. And we also use a tool called Autria, try Autria, where it's an amazing tool where you can log in and you have creatives broken down by ROAS, ad copy broken down by ROAS, headlines, same with ROAS. And so you basically have a graphical representation of what's going on in your ad account, and you can make systematic and number-based analytical decisions.
Yeah. I think an important point as well is using that to then create iterations on the ads, right? Because I think the thing that separates the brands that scale to 8 figures from those that maybe get to 7 figures but remain at 7 figures and can't really get past that is that the brands on the 7-figure side, their current creative process, it doesn't have a lot of structure to it. They're just kind of producing creative, they're throwing stuff at the wall, they see what sticks.
Every single time, yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be an element of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, but you can approach it in a more structured and strategic way. So even if it comes from like research and creating ads based on frameworks and building ads intentionally with, backed by data with your research, or even like you have a winning ad, you break down why that ad was a winner, the angle, maybe the format of the ad, the creator, like was it a video, image, all that stuff. And then you're using that data to inform future creatives.
Yeah, we actually have a sheet called Command Center, and within this Command Center, which is basically where we document all of the journey of our customers, the ad copies, the creatives, we have a sheet called creative tracking sheet, and it's basically divided into rows and columns, of course, but there's a bunch of different columns, and each row is a different test. So every single time we launch a new ad set, we add we add a row to this sheet that has, okay, what is the name of the ad set? What is the avatar customer we're targeting? What is the ad copy? What is the, I think we talk about emotions, marketing angles, the copy we use, the creator that we use, the headline, basically the entire ad. And then we have also extra columns that tell us, okay, this was a winner, a loser, a break even, whatever it is, how long it took us to identify whether it was a winner or a loser. And then all the other metrics like CPMs, cost per clicks, ROAS, and they're all color coded. So we can go in there and immediately see what's the situation of the creative. And then based on that, we make future inferences or future predictions on what could work.
Yeah.
But it's very analytical.
That's
very
killer.
nerdy.
That's killer, yeah. It's so important to have something like that. And the thing I'd say as well is like being able to have the volume as well. Because what we're finding is that you can produce creatives based on like data and create these variations, but you still need to have the volume side of things. And another important point is how you organize your raw creative or your raw content, right?
Library.
Because the library. If it's spread out and it's not organized, then trust me, it's going to be a nightmare. Like it may be easier now, but as you scale, especially if you're bringing in partners, like external partners to do things for you, it's going to be a mess. So what I recommend is you can do it simple, like Google Drive, split different folders by different styles of content, different creators, and just have some organization, some hierarchy to that. What we've started doing for our clients is we built something called a block library, and we're using a platform called air.inc for this. But what it allows us to do is it's basically Google Drive, but Google Drive on steroids. Yeah. And you can tag, like let's say we have a piece of content from a creator, we can tag that by the name of the creator, but also what that creator is doing, the product that they're using, whether we're going to use it for A-roll or B-roll.
Yeah, that's killer.
Yeah, and we have that per client. And it just means that, let's just say we're putting out a creative together. We have this idea, we have this angle, we have a hypothesis. And then it's like, okay, well, we need this content. Let's just search for, someone putting on a t-shirt, right? Or someone putting on a blue t-shirt, right? And we can find that pretty easily. So yeah, it's kind of like I guess more of an admin kind of nerdy, boring stuff, but it's going to be really, really important.
Long story short, if you want to go from 7 to 8 figures, be a nerd.
Yeah.
Literally, like, be a nerd. And so that's a big one. I cannot stress this enough. Every single time I onboard a client that doesn't have a structured library, it takes us so much time, my editors, so much time to go in and figure out what's going on. So if you don't do it for yourself, do it for others. Yeah. Like, because it's going to be a pain, especially if you want to remove yourself from the business. Yeah,
systems and processes.
Yeah,
that's all it comes down to.
Exactly. There's one thing I want to touch base on, which is really, really important, because we talked about kind of like how, some high level concepts of how to essentially, I guess we should say, increase ad spend while maintaining CPA, but how do we actually do that? Sure, we can track all the numbers, but what are the systematic strategies that can allow us to get there? I think there's two ways to do this. The way that we structure our marketing and advertising is like two different groups. Number one is going after, we spend 80% of our time on marketing angles that are already producing an ROI. So the first thing that we do is we get the same marketing angle. Let's just say you're selling a beauty product to remove a turkey neck or something like that. And so we would go after that angle, which is proven, and we would create new creative concepts. What is a creative concept? ASMR, before and after.
3 reasons why,
or
how I went from this to this, and
exactly. Like hooks, right? All different hooks. So you're basically leveraging something that will work, and you're adding new creative concepts that you've never tested before. This is by far the best way to start getting the ball rolling and getting pretty much have a 80% win rate on your ads, because the angle works. Yeah, that's one. And number two is kind of doing the inverse, where you spend the extra 20% you spend on new angles to find that extra thing that can layer or distribute your cash flow in a better way. So it's a more, distributed business. And then you do the same exact thing, and you maybe use the already winning creative concepts into the new marketing angle. So you're like switching between the two. Yeah,
100%. And then in terms of finding new angles, when it comes down to that, like, the research is key. And
yes,
this is something that, again, it's a boring side of it. It's not pretty, but you have to do the research. You have to look at Reddit forums, Quora forums, survey your customers. Obviously look at your competitors, but one thing I'd be careful about with your competitors is that what's working for them will likely not work for you. So you have to use that data, but like carve out your own angles and maybe your own target audience and specific unique mechanism that you can apply there. But something super, super important. I'd recommend having these customer personas that you have out, maybe even like a visual form on like a board that you can come back and refer to.
Yeah, that's I forgot to mention that, so thanks for bringing it up. But that's when we onboard a client, just to give you an understanding of how important that is. The first 7 days, that's all we do. I mean, we have other people doing other things at the same time, but we literally for 7 days we do two types of researches. One is a customer mining research. So we go on your Amazon reviews or your website reviews. Of course, they have to be real, or else it's not going to work. But I'm assuming that if you've built a 7-figure business, you have real customers in a real business. And so we use AI. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Influx Amazon. It's like it's this Chrome extension that you basically go on Amazon or on the website, and it will scrape and build a report and tell you what people like, what people don't like, what people are talking about, what problems they feel that the product has. And then, you can use all of these angles, who, where, why, what, in what case they use the product, everything, which gives you basically the language, the tone, the style, the angle that you need to use to convert people. So it's so valuable. And then we do a product, market, and awareness research. So we study the product within the market, and then we study the level of awareness that people have of a product within a market. So it's like very nerdy once again, but it sounds like a college assignment, right? But it's very, very important to do this research.
It works. I think by now, if you're watching and you've watched from the beginning till now, you will have understood that a lot of this stuff is foundational organization, systems, processes.
Yeah.
Like then you're just layering things on top, right? So we've spoken about, I guess, creative front-end customer acquisition. What other areas of the funnel can we improve more from like a conversion rate standpoint to make sure, that we can increase the ad spend? Because creative is one thing, right? But it's not the be all end all of making sure we can maintain that CPA at scale.
Yeah. I think it's, we touched base a bit before, but it's CRO, conversion optimization. Yep. I noticed a lot of companies, even if they're doing like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month, they don't have a CRO team. They don't have people. You don't need to hire an agency. You can have it in-house. Yep. It doesn't matter. As long as there's somebody that is taking care of, I'll give you some examples. Split testing advertorials, split testing the title of the advertorial, split testing the CPA or the CTA button color. Yep. Like things like this matter at scale. And you should do it. Just keep in mind that every single split test should be analyzed after around 250 purchases. So if you don't have that volume, right, it's not even worth it to start doing these micro CRO tests. If you are, it's an absolute no-brainer, and you will notice that these tests will fail, and the one that will succeed will allow you to increase maybe like 0.20% conversion rate here, 0.15% there, and at the end of the year it adds up to like 15% extra revenue. Like it's a must. Yeah,
it's so underrated. I feel like it's coming more to light now. More and more brands are maybe not even doing it, but thinking about it and know that they should be doing it. I think it's similar to how the ad creative game has shifted. Like every brand owner knows that they need to be doing more ad creative now.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing now and more so into next year is more people about CRO, and it's like, okay, it's another part of our funnel that we need to optimize and improve. And you touched on it there, A/B split testing. Even like on your website navigation, your product pages, your collections pages, look at everything. But the most important thing, and what we do at my agency, is everything is backed by data, hypothesis. So make sure you have some heat map or session recording software installed. Microsoft Clarity is free. It's great. Gives you a ton of data. If you want to go a little bit more nerdy, sophisticated, you can use heatmap.com, which gives you the same thing, but they assign revenue numbers to the different elements of your website.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Basically, you can look at your heat maps and say, for the people that clicked on these elements, what's the revenue per session, right? Yeah. Things like that.
What was the CRO tool called that we use for Intelligence?
Yeah,
Intelligence is a great one for CRO. If you want a less advanced one, you can use page builders like Replo or Gem Pages that have CRO elements or features to it, where you can do it in there. If you want really the high top-notch level of CRO testing, split testing, it's Intelligence. It's a very good one.
Yeah. And even look into like price testing, right? This is a big one. Something we've done for clients as well, because most people that are like, they have a price and they've come up with that price based on maybe what their competitors are doing, or they've set one price and they've never tested different pricing. And a lot of brand owners can be like, can maybe against this or a little bit apprehensive to test it. But we've tried it before. The way you do it is let's say your price point currently is $80. We always like to increase the price, but there's a case for decreasing the price as well, because it's all about the balance with your AOV and conversion rate, right? The price is obviously indicative of the AOV, but then the conversion rate is the other metric that's directly tied to that.
Yeah.
So if let's say your $80 price point, you test 85 and 75, right? You go either side.
Yeah.
And then you test it, you get the data, and then from there you can start to map out. You can even run like a scenario of what the revenue would be based on that, if you were to run that out with more sessions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up a software that we're actually partnering with because we believe in so much. I don't want to give a shout out with the wrong name, so I'm looking for it, but I think it's called Priya AI.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's called Priya. I'll maybe put it in the link down below, but yeah, there it is. I'm going to partner with this company because they have an amazing tool where Priya, Priya, Priya.ai. And so what this allows you to do is price testing with AI.
Yep.
So the AI will go and basically introduce, and this is something that the big companies do, like Amazon does it.
Yeah.
Everybody, like all the big dogs do it because it's really detrimental to increasing profitability.
Yep.
And so it's like a never-ending automatic AI-ish, right? Split
Yeah.
testing that never ends, and always there to like increase and maximize your profits with the highest price and the highest conversion rate.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
Super, super important. And with clients in the past, we've done this. We've increased AOV from like below $100 to like $130 just by price testing, right?
Yeah.
We found that, okay, you increase the price, but the conversion rate, and it's not even about like the conversion rate stays the same. Your conversion rate may take a little bit of a hit, but the important thing and a North Star metric that we have for our clients is you take your AOV, you take your conversion rate, you just take the percentage sign away, you multiply those numbers together, and you want to aim for 250 or above as a benchmark. And what it does is it just gives you something to aim towards, right? Because you think about AOV, think about conversion rate. Now, the AOV is very dependent on what you're selling, right? You can only sell, a plant for so much, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so people like judge conversion rate without understanding average order value.
Exactly.
Right. And so just to break down the example that Jordan just said, like if you have a $250 AOV, you need to have at least a 1% conversion rate.
Yeah.
And this is not like a make it or break it. Like the numbers can go up and down. It will depend on market, on how expensive your traffic is, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But that is a good solid proportion to scale to I guess the 8-figure mark. I would say even 300 if possible.
Yeah, I mean the higher the higher the better, right? There's obviously a point at which you're going to get those diminishing returns because the price point is too high for the product you're selling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would take that into account and start like look at what you currently have, right? And then if you're not at 250, you know that there's work that needs to be done to get it there. And what we found is that when we get clients there and beyond, it raises the ceiling for how much we can spend on ads, right? Because we can maintain the same CPA at scale.
Exactly. Like we have a client that is selling a really competitive product. So $2.5 cost per click, like really high at scale, right? So 2.5, sometimes even $3. It's like almost the B2B cost per click, really expensive. But their business economics are $500 AOV with a 2.5% conversion rate.
Killer.
It's like an absolute 2 to 2.5%. So that's, it beats everything.
Yeah.
It beats the expensive advertising costs, right?
Yeah. I think as we progress into 2025, as ad costs continue to inevitably rise, this side of the business is going to become more and more important, right? Because if you look at your COGS, right, your product costs, yes, you can get some efficiency out of there, but realistically, it's harder to do, right? You have to maybe work
to decrease
at more
your cost.
Yeah, like
your COGS.
Yeah, your COGS. Yeah.
Much harder to do 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like pricing is gonna go up. So I would say it's the hardest thing to do as you move on in time, right?
Yeah. So you have to work on the other areas. Conversion rate, AOV, getting those metrics up is gonna really, really help you. First of all, maintain where you're currently at, but then also help you scale.
Yeah.
Especially as you layer on the other things that we were speaking about today.
Before we move on, I want to touch base on like CRO. We talked about many different aspects of CRO. I would like to the audience describe in maybe 3 sections.
Yep.
What is the most highest lever CRO thing that you can do, and what is the one that does like makes the less difference? So I think the first one is changing the offer, because we've seen scenarios where conversion rate just increases or decreases by a lot by just like changing the offer on the front end. So that's probably would you agree, right?
Yeah, 100%.
The biggest lever that you can pull that will make the biggest impact, which also requires less, like you don't need 250 conversions to figure. You can also have like 50 or 100 and you will know immediately the impact of it. So you need less amount of conversions and it will make the biggest impact. Second thing is probably, what do you think is the second thing? Maybe the page structure?
Yeah, I would say it depends where you're sending your traffic, right? Because if you're running ads, you're either going to send traffic to a landing page, or likely if you have a lot of SKUs, a collections page, or maybe even a product page, right? So I'd say like wherever you're sending your traffic and whatever is currently working for you, I would double down there, right? If you're sending traffic to a product page, work on the product page, because that's where the majority of the people are going to land, and that's where they're going to start making decisions.
Yeah.
And then focus on the above the fold. That's what I would say.
So offer, and then optimizing the because you can
the
have
destination.
Yeah, you can have the best offer and the worst kind of landing page, and it will, if there's product market fit, of course, it will still work. So good offer. Then next thing is above the fold optimization. So making sure you have the reviews and the good title and the social proof, etc. Right?
Yeah, and as I said, it depends on where you're sending traffic. Like if landing pages are crushing for you, then stick with landing pages. Maybe the 5 reasons why listicles are working for you, maybe advertorials are working for you. Focus on optimizing those pages and see how you can get like a higher click through, or if your offer is on the page itself, like a higher add to cart rate.
But even then, like the above the fold is
key.
Is still like right generally, whether it's landing page, advertorial, listicle, product page, still the first scroll, I like to say, is gonna be the one that makes the biggest impact.
Yeah, and I still see to this day, business owners are not optimizing for mobile. It's crazy, but optimize for mobile. You need to think mobile first, right? No longer look at desktop and say, how does it look? Mobile first, then desktop.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
95% of traffic is from mobile. Also, this is completely underrated. Speed.
Oh yeah,
speed. Like you can do everything right, but just F up the speed and you will get no conversions at all. So it's crazy.
And speed is a tough one because if you talk to a developer, they'll say, yeah, we can remove, we can minimize JS or JavaScript, and we can, decrease the file sizes. And while that can work and does work, what we found is that usually it doesn't really move the needle that much. Yeah. We have some clients using a tool called Nostra.ai, Nostra.ai. What this company does is a software tool. They load your whole website on something called an edge server, which basically is a cache for your site, so that the load speed is much faster.
The cache, I know what you mean,
yeah, so that if you go on Lighthouse and you have Nostra, your desktop and mobile speeds, your scores are going to be in the 90s. And game changer, right? It's more for a client, like if you're doing multi-7 figures in revenue per year as an e-commerce brand, it's definitely worth an investment, because the investment into this tool is going to yield you, so much more in conversions.
Yeah, having a fast page is it's kind of like the metaphor, or the comparison is like sending an email and it goes to spam. People don't see it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the last thing, I guess, is just tweaking the structure of how things are being, positioned on the page. Yeah. And I think whatever it is, your page should have amazing photo shoots, have amazing kind of visuals to it. Yeah. That's of course the foundation, but it's also a CRO element. So
yeah, and for me, CRO is basically the way that it's the information you present and the order and the structure in the way that you present that information. So yeah, the visuals are key. That if you have bad visuals, it's going to be very, very difficult to have a good conversion rate.
Perceived value goes down.
Yeah, but then you were talking about earlier, reviews and social proof and trust, super, super important. You want to, the best way you can look at CRO as well is, again, it comes down to research and customer understanding, right? Just like your creatives, CRO is the same thing, because what we like to do is we like to understand what questions does a customer have when they come to the page, and in what order do they have those questions. And what we want to do is we want to present and structure our page in a way that answers those questions in the same order as much as possible, right? Not every customer is going to be the same, but the more we can do that, the more we can use data and this iterative process to structure the information in that way, get customer surveys, get feedback, then the more likely we're going to edge towards higher conversion rate.
And if you don't know where to start, study your best direct competitors. You can, same tool, Ultra, you can go in there and study what they're doing, filter by companies that are have 1,000 active ads, 500 active ads, which means that they're investing heavily into advertising. And with this tool, you can also break down where they're sending their traffic. So 30% here, 20% to the advertorial, 10% to the listicle, whatever, and study their structure to have a starting point, some inspiration. Another very important one to answer objections, a good section that you always need to have is an FAQ. And I've seen that some companies, especially supplement companies, beauty companies, put it right after they have top of fold, social proof immediately after FAQ.
Yeah.
And it's typically a good section to put on the top if you go from advertorial to product page, because when you go through the advertorial, you go through all the information on the product, it's done. Then you have the questions.
Yeah, it's spot on. And it's something that is kind of overlooked as well. But again, so important. Have a heat map or session recording software. Microsoft Clarity is literally free, right? Install it today, because these softwares, they only start collecting data from the day you install it. So if you don't have one installed, install it now. Like, pause the video, install it now.
Yeah.
And all of this, what we're saying, is all well and good, and it's what we tend to see across the board. But your customers, your brand, your product is going to be different in its own way. You want to have a look at that data and see, like another great example is the image gallery, right? Like, when we look at heat maps, it's lit up, right? It's like red everywhere. So what do you do?
Section?
It's the
scrollable.
The thing at the top, like the product image gallery, the carousel.
Yeah. That's basically your landing page.
Yeah. So fill that with infographics.
Yeah.
Right. Don't just have like images of the product and images of people using the product. Have those, but overlay some information, some benefits, some unique mechanisms.
I always say
customer review.
Yeah, I always say that should be your landing page, but a scrollable version of your landing page.
Yeah.
That's a very good one. Cool. I think we can just maybe finish it up talking about communities and reward programs, perhaps, because I think when you're spending 6 figures a month on advertising, you have to make sure that you pull every lever that you have. You want to make sure that expensive advertising yields you indirectly as well, right? So I think reward programs are a big one. If you can have one customer out of 10 or 20 refer 1, 2, or 3 people, you're gonna win, because your acquisition costs are automatically gonna go down, because there's more word of mouth.
Exactly.
And some people that don't understand, and they just look at front-end ROAS, but they don't realize that as you scale to like 6 figures a month in ad spend, there's gonna be a bunch of organic increase or word of mouth increase automatically. But if you can also put in place a reward program, it's going to be a game changer. Yeah,
facilitate it, right? Don't just expect it to happen. Encourage it, facilitate it, and customers will do it. Oh, yeah. And especially if you give them a reward, like refer one friend, get $10 in credit, or refer a friend, they get 10% off, you get 10% off your next order. You can get creative and test different offers.
Yeah.
And there's multiple apps for Shopify that facilitate this.
So where would we put this rewards incentive? I would put it, first of all, a section on the website.
Yeah.
Partner with us or not partner with us, like get more points or credits or whatever, coupons, whatever you want to call it. And plus, some brands customize the name of it to make it more on brand, right?
Yeah.
And then a good other spot is, of course, following up with email.
Yeah.
So like a post-purchase sequence, and then on right at checkout. Right at checkout, when they bought the product, you never know, maybe they're already fans of they already rave about you.
Yeah.
You never know, put it there with a coupon code as well, and say become our
ambassador. Or, yeah, and it's a great one. So talk to me about building communities.
Yeah.
And how does that look?
This is a very interesting topic, because it's something that not many brands do, but I did a video actually yesterday talking about communities, and there's this brand, forgot what it's called, but they sell a beard. Their ideal customers basically people that have thick beards.
Yeah.
And so it's very culturally, it's like, same thing with like, other people that have, other characteristics that they share.
Yeah.
This physical characteristic of beards apparently is something that's like it's called brotherhood.
Right.
That's what it's called. And they have 30,000 group members.
Yeah.
And they do lives, they share value. The community itself is a value to the community members.
Yeah.
And so you're creating a tribe. I would say that's the added value. And many times you can also add this benefit on your pop-ups and say, sure, get your 20% off, your 10% off, get a free gift, but also join
the tribe.
Join the tribe.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's cool. I think it's really cool. The brands that I think are going to win out in the next few years are going to be those community brands, because, e-commerce is not getting any easier. It's going to get harder and harder and harder. And it comes back to brand, right? But I think rather than looking at, like the Louis Vuittons, like those big brands that have that brand image and equity, It's more about like community building with smaller, like if you have a smaller brand, how can you build that community? Obvi, the supplement company, is another great example of this. They mainly target women in their 40s and 50s with weight loss.
Yeah.
They have a Facebook group with like 100 and something thousand members.
V-Shred,
yeah, killer.
Yeah, and I'm starting to for one client that is in a very like interesting niche and industry, which is perfect for communities. We're actually looking to get into school.com from Alex Hermosian, because what you can do in school is not only you can make a free group, you can also upsell them with subscription, and it will not always fit depending on the product to sell a subscription. In my case, we would transform the community into like courses and information about a specific topic, or extra support, which you can do with beauty, you can do with any industry. And then there's also a feature that in school you can sell courses, or you can sell specific info products, or you could sell anything, honestly, as long as you put it there in school, and they can just have one-time payments or subscriptions. And that's a good way to, getting back to subscriptions, what we were talking about before, good way to increase LTV.
Yeah, everything is intertwined, and I think that's such a good idea, like getting them into a community, but then the ability to sell information and having things on the back end, even like higher ticket, depends on the product, right? Depends on the market, but there's so many ways you could go about it.
Yeah, I know that talking about high ticket, there's some companies that within the supplement industry, health industry, pretty much any industry you can do it, even like furniture, anything, that just have people that call them. They have salespeople that upsell them like 12 month supplies. So like there are thousands of dollars, literally. And you do it typically with like existing customers or people that maybe that they're loyal. Just a great way to increase LTV as well.
Yeah, great stuff.
Cool. Honestly, this was a banger. I think we talked about a lot of cool things. I never went this in depth with you on these topics.
A lot of different things. I think one thing about both Brando and I is that this is great for us to cover like a broad range of things. We actually go deeper into all of this stuff on our YouTube channel. So check out Brando's channel. If you're watching this on mine, of course, other videos on here that you can check out. If you want to go deeper into CRO and how to run A/B tests, there's videos on that. If you want to go deeper into creative and the processes all there, you'll find videos on that. So definitely check those out.
Cool. Amazing. Thanks, man. And everybody, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
On a side note, before I end it off here, if you actually own an e-commerce business and you want your business and your brand to be audited, we can just hop on a call, hop on a free strategy session with myself or one of my team members, and we can pretty much have a conversation about your roadmap towards next year and how perhaps you can reach your goals. The conversation is very laid back. It's honestly just to understand if there's an opportunity for us to do even business together one day. Okay? With no further ado, thank you once again. And who knows, maybe see you in the next masterclass.